Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the We Hate More Sports Podcast, episode 10. Um, as you can see, it's just a little old PC for tonight's episode, but don't worry, this is future PC because I am recording this and it's going to be in conjunction with the interview that you're about to listen to. I said last week and on the episode for We Hate Sports this past week that I set up an interview with a close friend, childhood friend of mine, Christian Rocco, a rising wrestling star in this industry. And yeah, we completed that this past Wednesday night. So the entirety of episode 10 is going to be uh this interview that I did with Christian. Now, for those who don't know, it was a little over a year ago actually that we did another interview as well. So if you want to go and check that out, go and check out our YouTube page at We Hate Sports. Um, and while you're at it, may as well just follow the rest of our socials too. Our Twitter and IG at WHS_podcast and our TikTok too, which is the same as our YouTube. We Hate Sports. Um, and yeah, this one I enjoyed this interview. It feels like we're elevating the interviews every step of the time. And trust me, there will be an interview in the future, maybe even in another year or so. But for right now, uh, this is the interview that we did this past Wednesday night, and this is the entirety of the episode. I gave myself, really, technically, and the rest of the crew off. You'll see us all next week. Um, and yeah, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you're a young wrestling fan, if you're a wrestler that's just starting up in the industry, this is the perfect interview for you to listen to. So I hope you enjoy. Um, I got nothing else to say. Um, maybe future PC can somehow conject with past PC. You know what? Just watch the. Okay, here we are. Here we are. I am here with the current MFPW Tag Team Champion, close personal friend of mine. Someone that I've been meaning to run back the interview with. Christian Rocco. Welcome back to
Oh,
the
thanks for having me
Sports
back,
Podcast.
man. It's always my pleasure to be on here. It's awesome. Thank you so much for having me back. I catch you guys here and there a little bit when I can. I've just been a really busy dude lately.
Yeah, no, trust me, we'll get into that because we have plenty. We have plenty to talk. I know it's been a little over a year. I got your shirt now. Um, and we've done plenty of other stuff. Let me jump into the first question. I don't know if the thing that you told me last week is that like public knowledge? Is that just
Yeah,
like in
sure.
your
I can talk about it.
okay, all right, sweet. I really want to announce it. You had a WWE tryout the other day,
Yes,
last
it
week.
was a seminar with Gabe Sapolsky.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
by the way, man.
It was at the Monster Factory. Now it was a couple of weeks ago, but I had a match in front of him. Got my critiques, heard back from him. It was a pretty incredible, awesome experience. I had been dreading it for that entire month. Butterflies in my stomach, just very, very nervous, and just working my butt off. Just staying late and taking as many bookings as I can just to be ready for it.
Well, absolutely. That's what I want to get into actually, because over the last year, especially, like you've wrestled all up and down the Northeast from AXW in Pennsylvania to 1CW in Delaware. In your opinion, what has been like the number one motivation to keep improving this year?
To keep improving this year. Um, the goal never really changes, right? It's to get to WWE. But as far as what my goal this year was to get my name out there, to start traveling more, to experience a lot more. For me, you learn so much from being in situations that are really different. Um, as far as being at the Monster Factory, you get to work with the same people, your friends, people you see every day. So it's something different once you start working with people that you've never met before or that have a different style of training or just a different approach to how they go about making matches, right? So it definitely keeps you on your feet and it definitely kind of pushes you creatively.
Absolutely. So I want to dive deeper into, the in-ring work that you've done over the last year. I want to talk about Ali Rock for a second. All right. Ali Rock. It's so much fun. Y'all kind of morphed together after world renowned stabbed you in the back. I've watched the footage. Trust me, this
That
podcast is an anti Nick Petit podcast. All right. They stabbed you in the back. But how much has Oliver helped you improve your work as a wrestler?
so much. That's a phenomenal question. I love Oliver to death. There's another unsung hero. I'll get to him in a second, but Ollie is phenomenal. I feel like he was really slept on before. He kind of was just there for a while. He had won tag team championships before. He was no slouch, but I felt like he kind of hit his peak for a while, or plateau, not peak, excuse me. He plateaued a little bit with the character that he was doing. And we randomly got paired together. And everyone saw it the same way I saw it. I found out pretty much the same day that we were getting paired together. We were winning the tag team championships, and we were in that battle royal. Went against the Kellys, won. Um, but I never would have guessed it would have been as successful, as fun, as enjoyable as it has turned out. I really, really, really love him. He is the biggest yes man. Anything that we come to him with, anything that we pitch, no matter how ridiculous, he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Who came up
absolutely.
with the name? Who came up with the name?
That was Ollie. I had a list of a million names, and none of them were as good as that.
Ali Rock. It rolls off the tongue really well. That's
It
why I
does.
give
It
it to you.
does. It's perfect. And the only thing I tagged on was the Express thing because I wanted to go really 80s with it. And I love the Midnight Express. I love the Rock and Roll Express. And they're two really big inspirations to me and this entire tag team. As far as that unsung hero, I have to give credit to Brian Murphy. He's my roommate. I've known him since college. He's the guy behind the camera. He's helping us film everything. He's sitting there reading all these ideas and scripts that I send to him and helping me clean them up a little bit. So he deserves a lot of credit for the amount of work he puts in as well into Ollie Rock Express.
That's awesome to hear. So you have been at Monster Factory now for over I want to say it's 2, 3 years.
Yes.
Um, but Monster Factory, you were on TV.
Yes.
Um, Apple TV to be exact. Like for Monster Factory, just as a wild question, like could you like ever, if you could go back in time, do you ever see yourself starting your wrestling career with anybody else, or would you want to?
See, I've thought about that before. When I was first starting out and trying to find the right school, Monster Factory was always at the top of my list. Um, there's a bunch in the Northeast, and I've gone to a bunch of them. They're great, but none of them have the same level of professionalism. None of them prepare you the same way Monster Factory does. So if I were to start again, I don't think it would be any different. I just think they run such a well-oiled machine there. It's a safe environment. They push you. A lot of people saw what the Monster Factory really really is from that documentary. Dan's a hard ass. He's tough, but he loves you. He loves you to death. He wants you to succeed, and his track record's proven. I mean, there's been no school close to the level of success that we've achieved. So I'm proud to say that I'm a Monster Factory guy, and I wouldn't want to change that.
Is it like how truly like amazing was it to like be able to see like your colleagues like stories like I guess expose is like the best word to an audience that may not know like all the ins and outs of what it means to truly be a wrestler and make it and succeed.
Yeah, no, I mean that it was incredible seeing the documentary for the first time. We got some early screenings before everybody else did, and wow, didn't know that about a lot of my close personal friends. A lot of people that they were starring in the show. Um, yeah, a lot of that was kept private, and it coming out does not change how I view them, but it definitely makes me go, wow, you guys have overcome quite a bit. And I commend you guys, and I really commend them for sharing their story. I mean, that's extremely difficult, especially. I'm not going to get into too many details of the shows, but there's a lot of dark subject matter in there. But I think at its core, the show really represents a lighter side of wrestling. And that's kind of how I like to remember my friends and everybody there. We're all just goofballs trying to make it in a world full of spandex and underwear.
One article that had written like a review of like the show, described it as like it's almost like a group of superheroes coming together, just to make it in the wrestling industry. Um, so Blink, go check out Monster Factory, if y'all haven't already.
Yes, go
Uh,
check it out. It's a phenomenal show. And like he said, it's like superheroes. I see you got the Guardians of the Galaxy poster back there. That's
yeah,
probably the most
yeah,
apt comparison. Those are my favorite Marvel movies too. But yeah, they're just a ragtag group of goofballs just trying to make it.
absolutely. So I think what really gets lost by wrestling fans nowadays, especially, uh, is how much time wrestlers invest into their character. Like we, as a wrestling fan, as we're wrestling fans, I think we take a lot for granted, especially now. We're kind of in a boom period where everybody's just like clicking on all cylinders. Um, from the jobbers to main eventers, obviously not everybody could be in the main event of a show, but is it more detriment to fans that may not know what they're talking about, but act like they know everything that they're talking about when they want to like know everything about what a wrestler is going through? Or is it, up to said wrestler to be more proactive and look for ways to reinvent themselves?
Um, I think it comes down to where you work. I know WWE is very strict with what they're looking for usually, or AEW. They usually have a particular vision in mind. Some people have a lot more creative freedom than others. I mean, this is coming off of the death of Bray Wyatt, right? This creative mastermind. That's what drew me into wrestling is the characters, the larger than life personalities. That's what makes it interesting to me. I mean, anybody can do moves. You can find a bunch of crazy kids who can do crazy stuff that they learned on a trampoline. But what really, really draws people in my opinion, at least, is who can connect with the crowd, who can speak, who can make things matter and tell stories. For me, I've really been trying to reinvent myself and find my character. I was just Christian Rocco for a while, and Christian Rocco just isn't as interesting as the wild child Christian Rocco, in my opinion. Um, and yeah, you got to draw inward because the most interesting parts of you usually are the ones that you are trying to hide, right? So I'm a huge music nerd. I've pulled from that. I'm a huge 80s nut. I've pulled from that. Um, and letting that kind of come out and flow organically has been really awesome. And I think it's been something that's really, really benefited me by sharing that. And it's really helped me figure out myself, not even just in wrestling, just myself in general. And it's getting displayed in a way that I think people are starting to connect to us. Like, I'm the goofiest guy ever. I'm always making jokes. I'm always just doing stupid stuff, right? And now you see that in the Ollie Rock videos. And I think that's really drawn people in. I think that's really shown a side of Ollie more so than me, because I think people that do know me know I'm a goofball, but Ollie always played this serious character, right? So now seeing a little like this large part of his personality now is really drawing you in. So yes, I would say like the character stuff really, really is important.
What like to follow up on, what you said, that like investing in like taking out like parts of your life and personality that, the public may not know about clearly more. Like, do you think what company do you think like really excels in that the best? Or rather, what daily show, what weekly show do you think excels in that the best, in
Sure,
your opinion?
sure. I think everybody has some form of that, right? Like
Yeah.
there's definitely highlights from every company. Um, Ooh, that's a difficult one because WWE is doing a really, really good job at showing different characters. Like Judgment Day is on a whole nother level right now. I really love Dom. For somebody that we
It's come so far.
exactly for somebody that we all just thought was just going to be Rey Mysterio's kid, he's become his own thing, right? He's shown this like darker, snooty kind of rich kid who's been corrupted, right? Now, I
Right.
don't know if that's who Dom personally is, but I'm sure there are aspects of his own personality and his upbringing that have come through in that. And I think that's something that's been great. AW definitely has some highlights too. A big one right now for me is like Christian Cage, MJF too. Like they're
I
just
love it.
phenomenal characters. MJF's playing this like this rich, snooty prick, but now he's veered off kind of like us in the comedy sense, and you're getting to see another level and another like layer to MJF now, and it makes the character a lot more interesting. And it's definitely brought up Cole as well, who I kind of felt was not stagnant, but had definitely lost a little bit of that edge that he had in NXT. I think people care about them more than ever now, and it's awesome when you see a stadium full of 80,000 paid fans screaming for a kangaroo kick, right?
Yeah,
Like
can't
that's
wait.
stuff that really MJF can do anything probably, right? I've seen him do 450s and moonsaults, but the kangaroo kick is probably the biggest thing he has right now. But yeah, as far as what's the best company, I can't really make a decisive choice. I think AEW has a little more freedom given that they don't have as many restrictions as far as like sponsors and all that. They do,
I
but
agree.
they're definitely like a more adult company versus WWE.
TV 14.
Yes, who's trying to cater to a larger audience. So maybe AEW, but I wouldn't say WWE is far from that.
All right. Well, um, what do you think is harder for a wrestler to maintain? The passion for the industry as you're constantly traveling from city to city, working for small independent shows, looking for new ways to like improve your in-ring work, or is it more looking? I'm swear to that. Uh, is the passion like for the industry traveling from one city to another work for small independents trying to I guess maintain like that optimism and positivity, or is it looking for new ways to like hone and improve like your work as an actual wrestler?
That's a phenomenal question. Um, they're both very difficult. Hopefully, I can give you a more decisive answer, but I'd probably say the burnout definitely hurts sometimes. You know, if you love it, you love it. You're going to do it no matter what. And that's what I've run into sometimes. There have been so many events that I've missed from my personal life, and I've kind of put a lot of relationships on the back burner to fulfill this dream. And in the moment, it might hurt, but you know in your heart of heart that you're going for something that isn't guaranteed, but you know that you would, at the end of your life, right? You're going to sit on your deathbed and go, man, I at least tried, or I went for it. And nobody can ever take that away from me. It's better to live a life that's fulfilling than one with regret. And
I,
yeah, that burnout does come a lot. It does. It almost comes like clockwork sometimes. You start hitting some success, some good success, and then you start not, and it starts going downward a little bit. And you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I throwing myself against plywood every weekend, every day, in fact, because we're training on the mats all the time for little to no pay? And you just ask yourself, and you reflect inward, and you look back at that little kid who went to his first WWE show, and he's like, man, I want to do that. I want to be just like those real life superheroes in the ring. And you don't want to make him disappointed. You want to just make him happy. So that's what I do personally. But yeah, no, I have to say the burnout definitely is probably the most difficult part for us.
Beautiful answer. So right now, obviously your goal has always been, and I would assume still be, to make it to WWE. It's like any wrestler's goal is one day. Is there anyone in particular that you still really, really want to wrestle before you or them retire?
Yes, and I'm kind of kind of running the clock here with this one, but Edge. Edge is the one I have always wanted to wrestle. I thought it would be impossible. And then he came back and blew me like everybody else away. But he is the reason I got into pro wrestling. He's the reason why I love wrestling. And to be a part of his lineage and to say I wrestled the guy who inspired me, who brought me to wrestling. I mean, it's a no brainer. It's absolutely Edge. As far as like current guys, MJF, he's way up there. I love him to death. Matt Cardona is one of those guys that I just think is phenomenal. Chris Jericho is way high up on that list. And now Rob Van Dam came back, so I'd put him back on the cards.
Still in great shape.
Like there's still a lot of guys that I grew up on, at least, that have so much to offer. As far as somebody probably that's a realistic goal in the next couple of years, Ricky Morton. That's probably going to be a surprising one, but Ricky Morton, I absolutely would love to work with him. He is on the Mount Rushmore of greatest baby faces of all time, in my opinion. And he's still working at his age, and he's doing great. You see him on
Yeah.
NWA. I got another stretch one for you. I always like to say this one. Scott Steiner, even though it's probably not going to happen. I just love Scott Steiner.
You know what? The fact that he still looks even relatively the same, like as he did 20 years ago, I'll give it to him because that's hard to keep up.
Hey,
That's hard.
people tend to look back at that 2003 match with Triple H and go, man, like Steiner can't work. Steiner's one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, and Steiner is a worker. He is phenomenal. For a guy to be that big and that athletic, and also just his personality too. I mean, how do you not love him? I love
Oh
Steiner.
my goodness, his
Way.
personality is like that easily the funniest, like unintentionally like funniest man of all time.
Oh my God, those TNA promos. If anybody goes back and watches Steiner Mania, there's so many great moments. And you can't write that. You just let Steiner free flow. There's a great one that he did. Um, there's that really narrows it down. But he was in the back alley, and I used to love how TNA would film the backstage interviews because they look real. It looks like they were shot on a shaky cam, right? And they ask Steiner whatever random question, and he keeps turning around and saying more. And you think it's over, and then he turns back around, and then he keeps going, and then he keeps walking down, turns around. He does it like 4 times, and then he runs out of things to say, and he turns around and goes, "I'm done. I ran out
Yeah,
of
no,
things to say."
yeah, he is one of one, certainly with Scott. Yeah, that like reminds me like of like old wrestlers or wrestlers from like older generations, older eras. Like, do you think it is what do you think is like more like harder for them to accept, like kids that may not know of like who they used to be like in their prime, kids now, or just the idea that they're just never going to go at the same rate that they could have gone in their prime?
I think it's tough for anybody, especially when you give your life and your body to a business that it does. It takes years off of your life, and you miss a lot of time from your family and your friends to not be remembered. And you want to say that your body of work, this is this beautiful piece of art that people will go back and look at forever. There's never going to be a generation that doesn't know Shawn Michaels or Hulk Hogan, or Bruno, in my opinion. Maybe that one's a little forgotten on some younger kids, but like if you're a wrestling fan, you know Bruno Sammartino. But you want to leave that kind of legacy behind. And I think if somebody's going to be forgotten, that really hurts, and that hurts to the soul. It almost feels like, 4 decades of your life were for nothing, right? Even though it
Right.
wasn't.
I think it's like very hard for like even like you saw like in Undertaker's like docu-series like how hard it was for him to accept, or Ric
Yeah,
Flair his last match went out. um it's a wrestling, it's almost like a blessing and a curse in that
it is.
sense.
I think if anybody's seen the movie The Wrestler, I mean that's the entire premise of it. Darren Aronofsky kind of captured that, especially from the end. That it's kind of depressing to think about this. When I was a kid, I watched the movie. I had been to every single one of the arenas that they filmed in, and I knew all the places that they were at because they filmed it in Jersey, in New York, and Pennsylvania, like that tri-state area. And I've seen guys like that. And before he cleaned up, like I had seen people like Jake the Snake show up to that Rahway Rec Center that's in the movie, or going to the 2300, and then at the end at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Like I've seen people that are that age that couldn't let it go and are destroying their lives for it because they're trying to recapture something that was in its prime, something huge, right? But there's a period where you have to walk away or let go, or you have to start looking at your life going forward instead of living in the past.
I agree. I agree. So, Christian, I have some wrestling hot takes here that I came up with, and you just tell me if like you agree with some of these or not.
Sure.
But these are some that I feel at least strongly on this first one. Have a vision in my head. Swerve should be a double champion in AEW right now.
Swerve is phenomenal. He's having amazing, amazing
Yes.
matches. That kick he keeps throwing, that little back kick, it's one of my favorite things to watch. It's a thing of beauty. But yeah, Swerve definitely deserves his flowers, and I think he'll get them eventually. I think there's just so many people in AEW that we're focusing on right now that he's kind of on the back burner right now, but he's definitely coming to the forefront. I think Swerve will find his way.
All right. This next one, XT would thrive now if they traveled on the road with Raw and SmackDown.
What was that?
NXT would thrive now if they traveled on the road with Raw and SmackDown. So they're with
For
them
sure,
with
for
arena to
sure.
arena.
That's like looking at it from the developmental end of that. Like you should be doing that. There's nothing like traveling. I think those guys, just traveling around in Florida. I mean, Florida's a decently sized state, so you're probably traveling what, 1 to 2, maybe 3 hours. But no, there's nothing like traveling on the road and actually having to go out. And I know a lot of those guys have to build their rings and do that. So on top of that, like you're really paying your dues. As far as like people tend to think like, oh, only the independent wrestlers have to deal with the hardships of making it. No, a lot of those guys have to do a lot of the work, and they have to do a lot of stuff that isn't credited to them.
Right. So this next I'll take this boom period of wrestling that we have has more consistent and better wrestling than anything we got in the Attitude Era.
Absolutely, no question whatsoever. You, I love the Attitude Era, but you look back and some of the quality of those matches are not great. I mean, it was all personality. That's all it was. But yeah, you're like, and even now, I know people tend to poo poo on wrestlers of now because they grew up on so and so. They're asked a lot more than what they were asked back then.
I
Like it
agree.
really are. This is the best generation of athletes, no question whatsoever.
All right. And this last hot take that I have here, Christian Rocco will be on WWE programming in 2024.
2024. Whew. That's a difficult
I
one.
don't think this is
I
a hot
absolutely hope so. Uh,
take.
let's say so for for my sake at least. But
Let's
you know,
manifest it. Let's manifest it. Yeah.
manifest. Let's
Let's manifest
manifest it. I'll put it on my vision board and it'll come true. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think anything's possible, and this year I got the tryout, and I've been in contact with them. So hopefully it goes somewhere.
Hey, any way that I can see, whether it be as a plant in the crowd or as a security guard or as a local job, it don't matter. I need to see it on my screen. I need to see you fulfill the dream. Like seriously, man.
Hey
Um,
man, you never know.
yeah, you never know. You never know. Uh I've 4 round of questions here. So is there anything let the people know where they can find you at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. For one, I want to plug you guys. So the We Hate Sports podcast is phenomenal. Everybody listen to it. They're awesome. They have some crazy hot takes that are really awesome. I tune in when I can, but you guys should tune in weekly. You have more time than me. Come on. What are you doing with your lives that you can't give these guys some time? But as far as social media, you can find me now. I have a uniform name now. It's Wild Child Rocco, easy to find. You can look at my pro wrestling tees, which is linked on my Instagram and I believe my Twitter. You can get one of those shirts, one of those bad boys. You can get the new Wild Child shirts that are out. You can also email me at wildchildwrestles for any bookings or any kind of inquiries whatsoever. Hell, look me up on LinkedIn if you want to give me some kind of professional job too. But as far as that goes, man, I'm out there. Come find me. I'll be traveling. I'll be in Delaware. I'll be in Paulsboro. I'll be around the Philadelphia area. I'll be in Hamburg. I'll be up in Hazleton. I'll be everywhere. Look under your
Absolutely.
beds. Look in your closets. I'll probably be there.
He will find a way. He is the wild child, Christian Rocco. Thank you so much for this interview, Christian, man.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that was the interview, guys. Once again, I want to give a special thank you to Christian for doing this once again. He is making some pretty massive moves as y'all just saw. So, um, shout out to Christian, man. If you're not already following him on his socials, definitely do so at especially on Instagram at Wild Child Rocco. Um, and yeah, make sure you go and check out Apple TV series The Monster Factory as well. So if you have Apple TV, there's something else you can watch. Apple TV has some really good quality series, I just realized. Uh, so yeah, definitely go and check them out. And of course, make sure to follow us on our socials, our Twitter and our Instagram at WHS_podcast, our YouTube and TikTok at We Hate Sports. There will be two videos uploaded this week. This weekend, I should say, is the episode We Hate More Sports last week and the episode for this week, which is the interview that you're all about to listen to. So this counts as episode 10, so that will be uploaded to YouTube as well. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I've been PC. You Gaming Matters. Call up one, check up on themselves, you love them, whole 9 yards. You'll know the drill if you've been launching. Stay tuned for We Hate Sports next week. TK Searless is making its return. We'll officially have been through week one of the NFL season, and we definitely got a lot to talk about already with the Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Lions. So, yeah, stay tuned. But that's all from me. Take care.